The question is, why be Jewish?
The question is, what's the difference between if we're Jewish, right? So why be Jewish if I don't see a difference?
Why live like a Jew? And people who are not living like Jewish people who are Jewish, who don't keep halacha, have such a happy life. Especially if you're not happy and you are keeping halacha. Yeah.
So the question is based on the assumption that keeping halacha is supposed to make you happy. So then the question is, what if it doesn't make you happy? But then also, even if it does make you happy, can't you be happy without it? Right? That's the question.
Yeah.
So I got to tell you something very fundamental and important. The mitzvahs, all of them, were not given to make us happy. Because you can be happy with them, you can be happy without them. Happiness doesn't depend on whether you're keeping the mitzvahs or not. This is really like a radical change in everybody's thinking. Do you need to make a bracha when you eat?
No.
Do you have to make a bracha when you eat?
No. You should.
What does that mean? What does that mean? I don't need to, but I should. What does that mean? If I don't need to, then why should I? Somebody knocks on your door and says, please, I'm starving. Can you give me something to eat? Do you need to give him something to eat?
No, you should.
Because
Why?
he's starving.
Because he's hungry, right? So you can imagine somebody knocks on your door and he's starving and you say, oh, come on, I don't need this.
He does.
He does. Of course you don't. You're not the one starving, right? Mitzvahs are not for you. When the Eibishter says, keep Shabbos, he doesn't mean for you. Isn't that true? What's Shabbos?
So it's for him?
Yes.
So then why do we have to keep it? Why do we have to do so many things just for one person?
That's a good question. That's a good question. But first, let's get this straight in our minds. What is Shabbos? Shabbos is that you created the world in the 6 days and rested on the seventh? No. He created the world in the 6 days. In other words, he is keeping Shabbos.
Then why should we rest?
So what does he want from us? To keep Shabbos with him. That's like a father who's keeping Shabbos, sitting by the Shabbos table, making Kiddush, and none of his kids come to the table. So when Hashem says, keep Shabbos, what he means is, keep it with me. Not you need to keep Shabbos. I need you to keep Shabbos. And the same is true with all the mitzvahs. That's why it's called Avodas Hashem. So I asked this very big Talmud Chacham, really, but he never learned Chassidus. So I asked him, he says, the mitzvahs are just for us. Hashem doesn't need anything. It's just for us. So I asked him, so what does it mean, Ivdu es Hashem? If you're doing it for you, how are you serving him? This is a guy who learns Torah day and night, all his life. He has 9 children. His wife works. She makes the money. She raises the children. She runs the house. He sits and learns Torah. So I asked him, what does it mean, Ivdu es Hashem? You know what he said? He said, That's the one thing I never understood. Otherwise, he's a big Talmud Chacham. He just doesn't know what does it mean, Ivdu es Hashem. Is that like ridiculous? I'm a big Talmud Chacham. I just don't know what Judaism is for. That is really sad. So, the truth is, if the Eibishter created the world, listen to this, it's very important. If the Eibishter created the world, how does it happen that you need to keep kosher? He created the world and you have to? Does that make any sense? He created the world. It's his world. But you have to. Wait a minute. It's not my world. I don't have to. How do I have to? In other words, who needs a dira b'tachtainim? I need it. I have an apartment. I'm okay. Who needs a dira b'tachtainim? He does. So what are you telling me that I have to, I need to? No, he needs. So when he gives us the Torah, he's telling us how we can help him with his creation. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So if I ask a guy to put on tefillin and he says, I don't need this. See how confused he is? Nobody ever told him what mitzvahs are. Mitzvahs are not what you need. So how did we get so confused? It could be that hundreds of years ago, all the teachers and the rabbis decided that nobody's going to keep mitzvahs unless you tell them that it's for their own good. So they started telling people, it'll make you happier, it'll make you richer, it'll make you this, it'll make you healthier. And that became the whole Yiddishkeit, which is like a joke. That's also why there are some people, horrible, horrible attitude. If you ask them, why was there a Holocaust? They say, because Jews were bad. Almost like they deserved, which is the most horrendous thing you can possibly say. But why do they say that? Because it all follows. If mitzvahs were given to make us happy, healthy, and successful, and there are people who are not happy, not healthy, and not successful, it must mean that they're not keeping mitzvahs. Because if they did, they would all be happy and healthy. So they blame the people for their suffering, which is really horrible. If you suffer, it's because you deserve. Not true. Never. So now, obviously, people are going to ask, if he needs the mitzvah, why should I do it? Why should I do what he needs? Good question. Why should I give a hungry man food? I'm busy. I don't have time for this. Why should I?
Because he's hungry.
So that's not my problem.
But he's
Sure,
asking.
you're right, it's not, but it's about what's doing right, or if you want to do it. You don't have to provide.
I feel like it's so different because he's physical. It's giving him some sort of pain that he's hungry. He's asking. Hashem is not constantly in pain, physically asking. Daven, keep tefillas, go help a friend. He's not physical and asking in pain and suffering.
Like if he made the world, and he can give you what you need if you're asking, if you're crying or something, he'll provide it for you, then why can't he cry for himself and provide it for himself? Like,
He's old enough to take care of himself.
He's old enough to ask.
like if he can help you with your needs, why can't he help with yours?
Why does he need you? It's a good question. But first, why, if he needs something, why should I be interested? What do I care? Not a good question. Why should somebody else's problem bother me? Isn't that what life is all about?
So you're looking for other people?
Yeah. Or you just live for yourself?
I mean,
Which one sounds worse? But you see, like this. When a person says, if he needs it, it's not my problem, you see where that question is coming from? The question is coming from, I have needs, and he has needs. I'll take care of my problems, let him take care of his problems. So if I have needs, his needs bother me. I'm busy with my needs. But imagine if we realize I don't really have needs because I didn't ask to be born. I didn't create the world. If I felt that, then if God says he has needs, I'm really glad to hear it. Because now I have something to do. But one more important point. What does Hashem need?
yeah, because he doesn't ask us.
He does.
No, but he doesn't, because we're hearing it from other people, or we see it down in a book, but we don't. It's all like inheritance.
It's okay. As long as we know he needs, doesn't matter how we got to know it. But again, what exactly does he need? He needs you to keep Shabbos? And if you keep Shabbos, so what?
Yeah, exactly. So what, after Shabbos, I don't see any like difference in the world because I kept Shabbos for him.
And what difference does it make to him?
I'm not sure.
We don't know.
So it's kind of funny. So here's what the other very important thing to know. We are here to make a dira b'tachtenim for him, correct? You've heard that before?
Yep.
What does it mean that he wants a dira b'tachtenim? Tell me what that means. Because we're supposed to devote our whole lives to this. We better know what it means. What does it mean? He wants a dira b'tachtenim.
He wants to come. He wants to live in the world?
Hmm?
Oh, he wants to live here. He wants a home.
So who's stopping him?
Control him.
So, first of all, what is a home?
A place where you feel safe, where you live, where your family is.
Where
People do things for you.
where somebody makes dinner for you? Wait, what does it mean? Hashem needs a home? You see how important it is to ask questions? We're devoting our entire lives to making a dira b'tachtenim, and we have no idea what we're doing. It's like hiring a company to build you a house, and you don't tell them what to build, how to build.
Like that?
It's just so stupid. It's like, it's like
So let's use an example. A man says to a woman, let's make a house. What is he saying?
Let's build a family.
Build a home,
Which means,
a life, family,
which means,
safety.
Live forever together.
that's right.
Oh, they're connected. It's
If-
the place you're
Forever, they're gonna know each other.
No, if a man says to a woman, let's build a house, he means marry me. That's what he means. So imagine a man says to a woman, let's build a house. So she goes to the hardware store to buy a hammer.
Gosh.
And he says, what are you doing? She says, well, you want to build a house? You need a hammer. He says, I'm not hiring you. I want to marry you.
Someone's marrying us? That's like what she was doing.
So what does it mean?
We're a lot of people.
So making a deal.
So what does it
it's
do?
not physical, it's all like spiritual. You're marrying Hashem.
Right, so what does it mean he needs a dira? Who needs a dira?
Hashem.
If you're getting married, you need a dira.
Oh, a
If you're getting
house.
married, both of
private
you need to do it. Both of you need to commit.
Yes, but that's when you
Exactly,
need,
it's a commitment.
but that's when you need a
Not everyone
house.
commits.
See, if you're not married, you can live in a dormitory. You don't need your own house. You can live at home by your parents, and they'll make supper for you. But when you get married, you need a private house. So when Hashem says, make me a private house, he's not asking you to go buy a hammer and nails. He's asking you to marry him. So why do you have to keep Shabbos?
To make a house with a shower.
Because if you're married to him, why are you letting him keep Shabbos and you're not? So here's the bottom line. What Hashem needs, listen to this.
It's us to do as.
No. What Hashem needs is us, period. He needs us,
How's he married to so many
but
people?
We're all one.
he's very talented. But when he says he needs us, it's not he needs us to do this, he needs us to do that. No, he needs to have us. But if you're fighting him, if you're not on the same page with him, he doesn't have you. He needs you, but he doesn't have you because you're not on the same page. So what is the whole Torah? The whole Torah is the Eibishter telling us how he lives so we can join him in his life. If you don't join him, does he need you? Yes. If you're the worst Jew in the world, does he still need you? Yes. If you don't come to the Shabbos table, does he still need you?
Yeah.
Maybe, if you don't come to the Shabbos table, he needs you a little more because you're not there. So how does Hashem feel about a Jew who's not keeping mitzvahs?
Even more so. Like he needs them.
It's I need you and I don't have you. So who needs?
Hashem.
So now, why should we do what he wants?
Because he needs us.
Because we're married to him.
Not yet, we're engaged.
Only engaged?
No, we get married when he comes.
When Mashiach comes. That's true. The marriage will be perfected when Mashiach comes.
But what about non-Jews?
So there's a difference between how the Eibishter needs us and how the Eibishter needs non-Jews. It's like a great artist creates magnificent paintings or music or whatever. Those are his creations. And they're very impressive. But then the artist also has a daughter. So what's the difference between his relationship with his daughter or his relationship with his paintings?
He didn't create his daughter.
I mean, he did.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't, like, I don't know.
Obviously, his daughter is a little more personal than his painting, even though his painting is a very important, precious part of what he does. But it's a creation, not a child. So when we say we are Hashem's children,
So non-Jewish people are not Hashem's
They're
children,
just
they're his
creation.
creation.
right.
So why does he create things that aren't his children?
Then why does he create them the same as us in terms of, they still have a brain, they can think, they have feelings.
I didn't hear.
Like, they still have feelings.
Of course.
So then why? Like, why do they need feelings?
What's the real difference?
No, like, why do they need feelings if they don't need to do what he wants?
They do, and they should, because they're
His creation.
because they're his creations, right? But then, they get a little confused because they start claiming that we are God's children, we are the chosen, you used to be the chosen, now we're the chosen. So that's just confusing everybody. They are God's creation, and because they're God's creation, they have to do 7 things that make God happy with his creation. Like not killing, not stealing.
And we used to do 613.
And we have to do 613 just for starters. Then we have minhagim, and then we have mitzvahs d'Rabbanan, and then we have all. In other words, we are in a complete relationship with him. So everything we do it his way. Like in a marriage.
Why does it make it so hard to
Because if it was automatic, if we automatically did what he wants, then it's not a marriage. It's like being married to your clone or to a malach. It's not a marriage. It's a marriage when both parties have their own will.
Have their own what?
Will.
What's his will? Oh, for us.
So what's our one?
Yetzirah. In other words, we have free choice. That's why he gives us bechira. Because if we didn't have bechira, then you can't marry someone who doesn't have bechira.
But he doesn't want us or need us any less.
Right.
Even though we're making.
Right. Just like a wife whose husband is not being so nice. She needs him. She can't just walk away. So, did you ever hear a woman who's married make a list of how many things she does for her family? You know how long that list would be? In fact, I think any woman who makes a list of all the things she does would be so horrified she would quit. Like, whoa, too much. I can't do this much. But if you don't count, then you just do it, and it's easy. So, if you ask a wife, you do the cooking? Wow. You clean up afterward? Wow. You do the laundry? Oh man, that's a full-time job. You do shopping too? And you raise the kids? How do you do so much? It's a good question. But what is the right answer? The right answer is, I don't do so much. I only do one thing. Take care of my family. Same thing with mitzvahs. If we stopped and counted, wow, I do this and I do that, it sounds like way too much. But it's not way too much. We're only doing one thing. Ivdu es Hashem. He's my Eibishter. He wants me. He needs me. So I don't sit and count every time I do a mitzvah.
You don't get to pick and choose either.
You can either do or not do, but you can't choose what's a mitzvah. Huh?
You can't pick as a mother. You can't say, oh, I'm not going to do the laundry, and I'm not going to, you don't get to pick. It's not like a beautiful choice of what we want or what we don't want.
Only when a few kids on Monday.
No. You can't decide what the needs are,
Correct.
but you can decide you don't want to do it.
Right.
There are mothers who don't do laundry,
Kids don't get supper Tuesday.
right?
Just, they don't.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
So the choice is not to tell the Eibishter what he needs. The choice is either do it or don't do it. That's why it doesn't really matter. I really don't care. Why does he need kosher? I don't care why he needs it. I'm not studying him. I'm trying to serve him. The same thing is true in a marriage. If your wife says, I hate being alone at night, say, why? Don't say why. You're not a psychiatrist. If your wife says, I hate being home alone, do something about it. You need to know why? You're not a good husband. The same with mitzvahs. I don't know why he needs kosher, but what do I care? Doesn't matter why. I'm here to do what he needs. Just tell me what he needs.
But if he knows I have a problem with doing things he needs, then why does he bring me here?
Well, first of all, if he knows that you have a problem, he understands. If a wife says, I can't make dinner, I can't. So the husband says, fine, then I'll make it. And that's what it means. The Eibishter doesn't demand of people what they can't do.
So what if someone would have an absurd need, like something that's like,
Should we invite them in?
They can see themselves because it's a mirror.
I understand. We should invite them in and teach them something.
so if someone has an
See, these
absurd,
are Hashem's creations.
Uh-huh. We should teach them that.
if someone has an absurd need, we could say like, sorry, this is not like such a valid need. Like I'm not going to go so much out of my way to help you.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry, but like it's just not something I'm going to do. So why can't we have the choice to do as Hashem? Because he has needs, and I find them like stupid, or like not so valid of a need for me to go so much out of my way to do something. Like it really annoys me. And
Okay.
why should I do it?
Here's the important words that you just used. Out of my way. We go out of our way to serve him. Can you imagine if a mother says to her children, you know how out of my way I go to take care of you?
But that's her job.
It's not her job.
Yes, because she chose to have children.
It's not a job.
We'll discuss this on Friday at our financial class.
They had a job? How would a child feel if the mother says, I go so out of my way for you?
No, so let's say it was like, could you, it's raining outside, could you pick me up from school? No,
Yeah.
I have to do other things.
Yeah.
So let's say it's like, well, I have to do other things. I can't always be like thinking, oh, am I sneezed? Oh, am I in kosher? Oh, am I doing this? There's something to think about that right now. It's not the right time for you to do
But
that, or you take a pause. But it's not fair that you can't do that and do mitzvahs.
Let's stick to the definition. When you do a mitzvah, are you going out of your way?
Yeah,
Not all the time.
you are.
Sometimes it's just
You're going
happening.
out of your way to buy serious clothing.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily your
It's
stuff.
more expensive.
Exactly.
Right.
You're going out of your way to make sure that your kids are getting an education and not going to free public school.
Not all the time.
So
Sometimes
you
it's
do
easier
go out
than
of the way.
others. Sometimes it's easier than
Certain
others.
stuff, obviously, well, there's also stuff that I like.
For sure, but it's also easy, some things that seem to be needed more than the easier things are way too hard. So then it comes to that question.
So let's focus in on this. What does it mean, out of my way?
You have a
Things you
plan
don't
for
wanna
the day, doing things you want to do, but you have a plan for the day and you have to add in
Inconvenient.
mitzvahs that and inconveniences to that day because it wasn't in the plan. Someone wants something, or you need to do something. Or my father saw me and I'm not seeing it, so I have to go home and it was inconvenient to go change because he wanted me to. Very out of the way. I was going up Kingston, I didn't want to turn around and go change.
So you mean physically out of my way?
There's both. Physically.
It's a block out of my way.
No, I'm like all the way, I'm miles away right now.
Miles out of my way.
Yeah.
No, listen. This is the theme we're talking about. If it feels like you're going out of your way, something is wrong. It shouldn't feel that way. When a mother does something to make her child happy, that's out of her way?
No.
Or that is her way?
It's her only way. She's a mother.
That's right.
Why she has the title, you're a mother.
That's right. And the same is true with a wife. A wife does something to make her husband happy and says, I went out of my way, I'm sacrificing for you. No, you're not.
You married him.
His happiness is your happiness. What do you mean out of your way? See, we're setting up like a competition between ourselves and Hashem. I have my way, he has his way, and he's asking me to go out of my way. And that's a wrong attitude. He doesn't want you to think that way, and he doesn't like it when you think that way. Because he doesn't want you to go out of your way. He wants this to be your way.
What if you don't like the way?
Huh?
What if you don't like the way?
You chose that way.
That's the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara keeps saying, it's not my way.
But we didn't choose the way of
We didn't choose to be born.
being Jewish, being born, doing mitzvahs. That wasn't our way. We didn't choose that way.
Versus choosing, I want to marry you.
Yeah, exactly. That's more like physical and your choice.
Listen to what you're saying. This is really, really good. I didn't ask to be born. Therefore, I'll do it my way. No, you don't have a way. You didn't even ask to be born.
Then why do we get feelings?
Right? So, if you didn't ask to be born, what is your way?
We don't have.
You don't have a way. You didn't ask to be born.
That's great.
Isn't it?
No, it's not. It's contradicting.
What's
And
contradicting?
I don't like it. Because we didn't ask to be born.
Therefore,
Why do we have to do things that we don't want to? If we're going to be born and we already didn't ask to be born, which
Right.
I don't think anybody did, but we already didn't ask to be born, then why do we have to do things that we didn't ask to do either?
what would you rather do?
Do things as I please. I want to go, I want to put my shoes on to cover my leggings. That's something I want to do. I don't want to do it, I'm not doing it.
But what you want to do is totally unimportant because you didn't even ask to be born.
But exactly, so why is it important? I didn't ask to be born.
Yeah, then what are we doing here? We're,
You see, now we're getting somewhere.
we're,
What are we doing here? That is a very good question. But let's work with this.
and then it's make a deal out of time. We're gonna go in circles.
Whoa.
Why don't you do something for someone?
We're not going in circles. Hang on. I didn't ask to be born. That's true. Why don't I ask to be born?
Because you have no desire to be down here.
Because I don't need to. Do I need to be born? If I wasn't born, would I sit there and complain?
You're not born. There's no complaining.
No complaining.
No, but like your soul.
Right, so why does Hashem,
The soul definitely doesn't want to be born.
why does Hashem have us be born if,
So hang on. If I didn't ask to be born because I don't need to be born, then what do you mean I need to eat? I don't need to eat.
But you do, because then you die.
So, I didn't ask to be born.
But then you can't make a deal with the pet.
Oh, see?
well, you want to?
Now you
Yeah,
make
that's maybe you said.
Yeah.
This is really healthy thinking. I need to eat? No, I don't. I didn't even ask to be born. So why do I have to eat? I don't know. It wasn't my idea.
Truth.
Why do we have to eat?
Yeah.
Why do we have that urge to eat?
Yeah.
We didn't ask to be born. We didn't have the urge to be born. Why do we have the urge to eat?
Yeah, we didn't ask for the urge to eat.
Correct.
Right. So it's not really my need.
But we didn't either
I like
ask for
that.
the urge to have that conflict of should I cover my leggings or not?
We have no conflict at all.
How?
Because we don't need anything.
So then what's the point of even living?
What a good question. But do you see why it's a good question?
Yeah, because I don't see the point. If
Yeah.
we're coming down here without, we didn't ask to be born.
Right.
We didn't ask to eat.
Right.
What's the point of living?
Good question. But what we know so far is that I don't need anything. Don't tell me I need. I don't need anything. Because I didn't ask to be born. So it's actually annoying. I don't ask to be born, but I have to eat, and I have to drink, and I have to get a job, and I have to pay my bills, and I have to have a house, and whoa, 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 whoa. How did I get stuck with all these responsibilities? I didn't even ask to be born.
Right.
It's not our choice.
Huh?
It's not our choice.
So the point of being born is to do things all your life? Constantly have to work because why? You have to pay your bills. Why do you have to pay your bills? So that you have a roof over your head. Why do you need a roof over your head? So you don't freeze. Why don't you need to freeze? So that you don't die.
But then why are we living?
But we're not.
So here's the point. It is so logical. Don't threaten me with death. I didn't ask to be born.
But now we want to live.
But everything I have to do so that I shouldn't die.
Yeah.
Excuse me, this is a bad plan. I don't need to live, but I have to really be careful not to die. So,
Everything leads an end to death. Like everything. Like
everything.
yeah. At the end, the last thing is death.
So because we are now before Mashiach, when Mashiach comes, will you be afraid of dying?
No.
No. So why will you do anything? Everything we do today is so that we don't die. It's not good. We need a better reason to live than not to die.
I agree.
Right? So, the fact that I didn't ask to be born means I'm totally free. I have no obligations, no needs, nothing. But then, what am I doing here? You see? What am I doing here? Obviously not for me, because I didn't ask. So I'm not the one who needs. Now the Eibishter comes along and says, yeah, but I need. I say, oh, so that's why I'm here. So if I think that I need life, and I need things, and then God comes and says, yeah, well, I need you to keep Shabbos, now we're at war. My needs or your needs? It turns out I don't have any needs. Not even to eat. Because I would rather not eat.
So Hashem's hungry, that's why we're eating?
Hashem needs us to eat.
Why?
alive.
That's how he designed us.
So you have energy to do what you want.
Yeah, but why do we have to get energy from vegetables? I don't know. But don't blame me. It was not my idea. So listen to this. What does it mean to eat l'shem shamayim?
You're eating not because you want to. Not for like, oh, it's yummy because it's more, I'm eating so I can do
That's your kavanah,
Yeah.
right? So eating l'shem shamayim means your kavanah in eating is for a purpose, right? You don't have to have kavanah. If you eat, what are you doing? You're doing what the Eibishter wants. So even without your kavanah, if you eat, that's the Eibishter's plan, not yours. So listen, by saying I need to eat, That's a chutzpah. You're claiming as if it's yours? It's
So
not
when we're
yours.
hungry, we should say Hashem needs to eat now? I'm not Hashem.
No, he needs us to eat.
What?
He needs us to
So
eat.
I need to eat now because Hashem needs me to eat.
Yes,
So it's not I need to eat. I need to eat because Hashem wants me to eat.
right. Even though I need to stop eating. Because I'm on a diet, you know?
So I need to stop doing mitzvahs because it's just too much for me, but Hashem needs me to.
Why is it too much for you? You have something else to do?
Yeah.
No, you don't, you see? That's the whole point.
But I do. I can find things to do.
I know. If you want to not listen to him, you can. But you don't need to. So here, the Eibishter calls Avraham. Avraham says, what's Avraham's famous answer? Hineni. You know what that means?
Here I am.
What does that mean?
He's ready for whatever
Why?
because that's what he's there for.
Because I have nothing to do.
So he's just bored, chilling
Yes.
in his tent,
Yes.
waiting for God to say, all right.
Yes.
So, but
In
I
other
don't get
words,
those messages.
I don't need to be here. I'm waiting to find out who does need me to be here.
But we just figured out that Hashem needs me to be here.
Exactly. So that's like good news.
So we already know.
Yeah, but we need to know that. Otherwise, what are we doing here? So this is what's going to happen before Mashiach comes. People are going to wake up and say, I don't need this.
What if Mashiach doesn't come before the year 6000?
Oh, we're in big trouble.
No answer. You just-
I don't think we can last that long. But anyway, people are waking up all over the world and saying, what am I doing here? Well, you're getting a job and going to school so that you can pay your bills. And I said, what? Why do I have to pay bills? Well, you want to die? So, don't threaten me. It doesn't make sense. I think this is the first time in history that people are thinking like this. I mean, think back for a while. 200 years ago, what did the average person do?
Farmer.
Got up in the morning,
They were cobblers.
milked the cow,
They were all cobblers. Yeah.
or farmers, whatever.
Yeah.
So they got up early, they milked the cow, they plowed the field, why did they do that?
Because they needed to. Otherwise those animals would die.
Or,
And then they wouldn't be. They wouldn't have money. And then they wouldn't have a house. And they wouldn't have their farm. And they wouldn't be living.
and they would die. Right. So for thousands of years,
And they were too busy to even think though like that.
for thousands of years, people did everything they needed to do not to die. And they were happy doing it. For all of history. All of a sudden, like in our time, all of a sudden people are saying, what? I gotta do all of that just not to die? This is not good enough. First time in history. So some people are taking it very badly. I didn't ask to be born, I don't want to live. It's becoming very popular.
Then they kill themselves.
Right. So for some people, this is a dangerous moment. But really, it's a good change. Because we're right. We don't have to. So if I don't have to for me, what's left?
God.
I have to for someone who does need. Who does need? The Creator.
But how does this one creator need so much?
Big appetite.
That's like a lot though.
Non-Jews don't have, like...
I wouldn't worry about it. I think he can handle it.
I'm not worried if he can handle it. I think that he could downsize a little bit.
And not need you, for example?
Maybe.
No, need less. What does it affect, like, one person?
Yeah, how is one person
Doesn't
make
mean what
such a
you need.
difference?
For example,
One
people-
person passes away, right? So they stop doing
No, people
their,
are grown. People are grown.
no, but they're stopping to do their need.
Or they did everything he needed. They're
So there's a
shlichus.
certain amount also.
No.
But what if I think something's too hard? Am I supposed to get that feeling because Hashem knows that's gonna be too hard?
If it's really too hard, then he doesn't expect it.
So why do I even get it thrown my way?
It's a general rule, but then each individual does as much as they can.
Do we only die after your mission, or people die before?
You have a certain time limit in which to fulfill your mission. If you didn't, then you come back. Get a second life to fulfill
So
it.
we do believe in. We believe in. So we can come back.
We've all been here before. Yep.
Okay, so we're 800.
Basically, yeah, because I was asking my father, I was watching this video and I was like, someone asked this person in the video, do you believe in afterlife? And she made her answer, a whole speech. And I was like, that's such a good question. So I asked my mother, and well, yeah, or my father, I asked. And he told me, he's like, then why do we go to, yeah. Why do we go?
Because we believe in afterlife, we believe that some of them are still here.
Yeah. So it was an interesting moment. But like, let's say there's a baby, right? The baby's born and unfortunately the baby passed away after.
Anything of the mission, whether it's to affect the parents.
Do they make that mission? Do I decided that this baby's mission was to teach something to the parents, but this baby only lived 2
Maybe
minutes?
that baby.
You can't make up reasons.
So you can't.
It's either true or it's not. You can't make it up.
And you won't know.
My mother's friend.
Sometimes tzaddikim do know and reveal it. Go ahead.
Okay, so if you're Jewish and you like go marry
Oh,
a
she's going
guy,
on to our questions that are written down.
yeah, if you're Jewish and you like go marry a guy, like with no Chabad or anything, are you related to the person that was the guy? Like, you didn't have like the Jewish wedding.
If a Jew marries a goy,
Yeah.
are they related?
Like, let's say if somebody goes and marries a guy, are like their siblings related to the non-Jew?
The definition of marriage, the definition of marriage
Yeah.
is a reunion.
So you're reuniting with a non-Jew?
You're reuniting with another part of your neshama.
Even if they're not Jewish?
If they're not Jewish, then you were never united, so it's not a reunion.
What if they're your soulmate? Then
You can't,
they're not.
a soulmate means a part of your, so a Jewish neshama, non-Jewish, they would never work. Right? Same thing is true with 2 men or 2 women.
What if you're a guy?
A Garrett,
You have a
yeah, you
you are
have
born
a,
with a neshama, or you get one.
You get one. But you get a neshama that was always Jewish.
Okay, so I have a question on that. I don't know if I wrote down, but about the 2 souls.
so same thing basically with the same genders marrying each other.
Alright, let me know if she's
They're-
finding
It's
it.
not a reunion.
But then what if I say that really is?
Huh?
What if I say that really is?
But you,
What if
yeah,
I say that Hashem really did one?
How do I know whose neshama I have?
you don't know.
Like, how will I find
No,
out?
but
See-
what if you say, you're telling me not, but how do you know? How do you know that that person's not really actually meant for that person? You don't
So
know.
I'll never find out whose neshama I have.
neshama's a gender? Are your
No, they're not.
neshama's a gender?
Meaning your neshama has to be with the opposite gender?
Yeah.
The other half of your soul. You're
Is the
the
opposite
female
gender.
part.
It was put in a man.
The other part is the masculine part. You're the masculine part.
Is put in a man and put in someone Jewish.
Of course, it's a Jewish soul.
So when people divorce, there's half their other soul.
Yeah, was that their soulmate? Was that their soulmate?
So what happens
It
there?
was like a my father.
Now they're like saying.
So one second. Before you married your husband, he was the other part of your neshama.
But, really?
You just weren't united.
So,
So when you get divorced, he's still the other part of your neshama. You're not united anymore.
But
What about if you get married?
my father is
Another part of your neshama.
Another part. So there's a few parts.
How much parts are your neshama?
Yeah, let's say someone goes through 4
Thank you.
marriages.
A neshama can be chesed, gvura, tiferes, netzach, hod.
But basically, my father and my mother married. My father got married. So,
So both marriages are real.
So I know my neshama knows who I'm going to marry.
They're not. They're not a mistake.
Well, your soulmate, let's say your parents, for example, were they soulmates for a temporary amount of time?
They were.
Soulmates for a temporary amount of time?
Yeah. No. They are united for a limited amount of time.
Basically, at some point in your life, you're
he
gonna
already joined his neshama.
A part of his neshama.
Let me ask
Now
you
there's
that.
another part.
But what if you do get married to someone and for the rest of your life you're married to that person?
Does that mean you only have one part?
That you need to be united with.
So someone who's gonna get divorced, like Hashem already knows that they're neshama.
Hey, can you read my
So
question?
this is important.
Yeah, I'm going to read it.
No marriage is ever a mistake. Why? Because the only way two parts of a neshama find each other is through Hashem. We don't know.
Also,
That's why every match is made in heaven.
Also, what does Gehenna look like? Like, what is it?
Gehenna?
Yeah.
Pretty much like Crown Heights.
Okay.
Very much.
I don't think I figured that one out. Okay.
No, let me.
Isn't Gehenna like
Scary?
a temporary time?
Somebody told
Like,
me-
you go and then you like
Clean your soul.
Somebody told me that, like, in between Gehenna and GaN Eden, there's this thing in between that, like, you're like kind of like floating around like a dead person.
And, like,
and
judge.
then you can like see everything. Like, let's say if someone's there right now, they can see like I'm talking to you, and like they're just going around the world, whatever. But they're not bad enough to go into Gehenna, but they're not good enough to go into GaN Eden. So they're in
You're
between.
hovering. That's what happened to you.
Or-
Like that.
Or
Yeah.
No, okay, I think she's talking about when you commit suicide.
No.
You never go. You're always like flying.
No, between.
Or-
GaN Eden.
you're so bad you don't even deserve Gehenna.
Maybe that's
Is
it.
that actually?
So you deserve to just be floating.
Because if you think about it,
What does it look like? What is it like that?
You think Hitler is in Gehenna?
I was about to ask that.
I
Is
hope.
it what?
I just thought you'd be like the worst part of Gehenna.
The worst part is not being in Gehenna. He's floating.
He doesn't-
For the rest of life, he gets to float.
What does that mean?
He gets to
What
see
is
what
it?
we're talking about.
He doesn't.
I feel like
He
he's
doesn't get peace.
But what does
or
that
relax.
mean? Like, where is
He's gonna
it?
constantly have to see what's going on. He's gonna constantly have to deal with people's problems and not
Wait,
like.
so what is it like when someone's floating? What
Okay,
is
so
it?
let's first find out. What is Gehenna and what is GaN Eden? Okay? The neshama, before it comes into the body, is a pure neshama. Comes into the body, gets really used to being a body, and gets to really like its body for 80 years, 90 years, 100 years, right? And then it dies, which means it goes back to being a neshama
So
without a body.
No, I'm saying about
Hang
like.
on.
But
But when-
you don't have souls, so when
Wait,
they
wait.
go.
So when it comes back to being a neshama, it doesn't know how. It's too used to being a body. So now it's in the world of neshamas, but he's acting like a body. And that's so embarrassing. So Gehenna means the embarrassment of a neshama that forgot how to be a neshama. Gan Eden means you come back to the world of neshamas, and it's as if you never left, and you're instantly back to being a neshama without any resistance.
No, but
How long does it take for the attachment to the body to kind of wear off? Maximum 12 months.
what about people that are floating?
That's why we say
that's what
Kaddish.
I was saying about like.
Oh, okay.
No, I think I remember what I was.
Hang on. That's why we say Kaddish for 11 months. Not to insult the neshama, by saying that it needed the whole 12, but covering as much as possible in case they do need it. So now, what is Gehenna?
No, like
Gehenna is not a
like
Gehenna is not a place. It's an experience. Gehenna means the discomfort of adjusting back to being a neshama.
what?
The adjustment of going back to being a neshama.
So everyone was on Gehenna.
Everyone goes through Gehenna.
I thought like Gehenna is like where like you have to work like stuff. Like I don't know, like actually like I felt like Gehenna was like very bad.
It is bad because the neshama is very sensitive and the embarrassment is very painful. But it's an embarrassment, not a place.
So what's the thing in between like those two? Like where you're just
Okay.
floating or
So what
for like
if
7 years, like and then you come back as an animal.
So what if a neshama is so bad that it will never get over its body and it will never be comfortable? Then going to Gehenna doesn't happen. Because if there's nothing to get over, if you can't get over, then you're not in Gehenna. So you have two neshamas side by side. One is in Gan Eden and one is in Gehenna, because one of them is comfortable, the other one is embarrassed. So the best way to think of it is like this. Every neshama goes to Gan Eden. Question is, how painful is it to get there? So Gehenna is not a place you go to. It's the process of getting to Gan Eden. So if it takes you 12 months to get to Gan Eden, that's like hell. Hurts like hell. If it takes you an hour, ooh, that's a lot better. So every neshama, except for the biggest tzaddikim, every neshama goes through some embarrassment in its adjustment to Gan Eden.
Does that have to do with if you did something wrong and didn't apologize to that person? That's what it's based off of? Like, what is
So why do
Gehenna
people come
based
back?
off of?
So why do people come back as an animal?
Oh.
Why do I'm saying like when someone told me, like my friend told me like she's little, like someone hurt her, whatever, never said sorry, and then a few months later, like no, this girl used to bully her, whatever, and then like a few months later, like her parents called to say sorry, and told her that the girl like died, whatever, and then
It's not whatever.
no, and then she died, and then like every day, and then after she died, every day after she was walking home from school, a cat would come and like follow her, and then it happened for a whole week, and then one day it jumped on her. And then she told her mother, and her mother said it could be that Shana came back to say sorry.
By jumping on her?
Yeah.
Now she has to say sorry again.
Yeah.
But here's the difference. When a neshama goes into an animal, it doesn't become the animal.
Hold up, that's the thing.
Wait, what?
So my neshama might be an animal neshama.
No.
That's what I'm saying is your neshama cannot
How would I make
be.
that up?
Hang on.
my friend.
Your neshama cannot be the neshama of an animal. Can't. It can be stuck in an animal, but you're not the neshama's animal. That's why it makes the animal crazy.
Is that why it goes through Gehenna?
I
Huh?
think that my friend
The walls in Gehenna.
No, it's worse than Gehenna.
What is it called?
So for the neshama to be stuck in an animal is a punishment because you don't belong there. You don't fit. It's like being in a tiny jail, right? But what happened to Hitler?
He's an animal?
No,
He's
he is an animal.
He's a mosquito. He's a disease. He's not a soul anymore, which means there is no Hitler.
Oh my God. He probably is cancer.
Cancer.
He's a disease?
In other words, he's a negative energy, but he's not a
People
soul.
say that he's nothing. People, I don't believe this, but people say he did nothing wrong. He just wanted to kill Jews. Like he hid in his house.
Okay, no.
Wait, can I say my question? I have a question about, back to the neshama.
About what?
About like marriage.
So if our neshamas aren't complete until we are married, then does it have to be then a shadow like so what are we? Are we not complete now or am I complete?
A complete human being, a really complete human being, is male and female. Is that true?
Yeah.
How do we know that?
You're married. You're married, you're united.
How do we know that a complete human being is male and female?
Because
Oh,
half of
Chava. But does
What-
that
what
have
about-
anything to do with like next like kiss?
What about Adam and Chava?
they were married.
They were together.
And it didn't go well.
Yeah, but it was still.
What would have happened if Adam and Chava didn't eat from the tree? What would have happened? Like,
Well, Chava.
Okay, so one second, one thing at a time.
Yeah.
We know that a human being is male and female because that's how Adam was created.
But that was one person, so we couldn't have them both.
The original human being was male and female.
That's fine, but that doesn't.
When they got separated, that was a step down. So marriage takes us back to the original
Like when they
condition.
split, Ethan,
Right, split is never a good thing.
they were attached.
kind of, yeah, they were in one body.
Were they
Yes,
married?
okay.
They were?
But after they split, they had to get married to be one again.
Wait, so before they split, that brings it to another question from the paper.
They were attached to them?
Why can't we have male friends or like opposite gender friends if we're supposed to be, they were to like
If
together?
we're meant to be together, then why can't we be together?
Like now, so
You
they-
can, just have a chuppah.
Well, we're not having a chuppah
So
at
what's
15.
the
Then you can't,
Why not?
because together means forever.
So you can only have one.
You can't be together a little bit.
So
No, wait, no. I know you're gonna. I literally said this yesterday. You're gonna say it goes to at least different things, but like a true.
Not it leads to different things. If you're only together temporarily, that's not
Yeah,
called
what if
together.
you plan, we're not.
But you don't want to be together. You just want to have a male friend, opposite gender
Just to
friend.
know what it's like to interact.
So you just
with
undid your
them.
question.
How did I undo it? You
Your,
just.
your question was,
Yeah.
you're supposed to be both male and female, so
Right.
why not have a boyfriend?
No, not specifically.
Not a boyfriend as in friend.
No, a
Like
guy,
he's my
a guy
girlfriend. Having a boy.
Like if we
guy-
all- no, no,
No, I'm your friend.
Boys-
I'm your friend. A girlfriend is like boyfriend, girlfriend.
All right, people, let me tell you something quickly, okay? Give me 5 minutes. Adam and Chava ate from the Eitz Hadas. You heard about it? And because of that, what happened?
They separated.
No.
They shut off the light of the world.
We got thrown out of Gan Eden, and people died. Why do people die?
Because of Adam and Chava.
Because of Adam and Chava. Mostly because of Chava. Okay, let's take a look at the story with Chassidus and without Chassidus, and you'll see a difference. What is the story? Hashem creates them, Adam and Chava, and says to Adam, of all the trees you can eat, except this tree, don't eat from it. The day you eat from it, you'll die. This was on the 9th hour of the day.
Someone told me that the world took over.
An hour later, he ate from the Eitz Hadas. Now Hashem comes to him and says, you ate from the tree I told you not to eat from? He says, she made me do it. Hashem asks Chava, what did you do? She says, the snake made me do it.
The beginning of the blinking.
Then Hashem says, because you did this, you're going to have pain in childbirth, you're going to have to work hard to make a living, you're going to have enemies. Okay. Let me ask you a bunch of questions because the story does not make sense from beginning to end. Question number 1. if Hashem told you not to eat from a tree, could you do it an hour later?
Yeah.
Could you? Yes.
No, you couldn't.
Why not?
Because Hashem will let you.
I think Hashem makes some impression.
For sure. It's not, you shouldn't, but you can. You have a
No.
Yetzer Hara.
No.
What do you mean?
Even with a Yetzer Hara,
Hashem tells me to daven. How dare I not daven?
But you could choose not
if
to.
Hashem spoke to you personally,
And said, don't do that.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah.
would you say,
but-
No.
He didn't know of any voice though. He didn't
Huh?
know like other human being voice. Like it was natural for Hashem to speak to him.
so?
So it wasn't such a big deal.
It's like saying
it's still
that he
Hashem.
says don't eat in middle of class and then you eat.
Okay, so I wouldn't do it.
So the first question is, how does Hashem not make an impression? Like,
Right.
you can just ignore him?
No.
Second of all, what's wrong with Adam? He has all the trees to eat from. There's only one tree he shouldn't eat from.
You could just tell them.
He didn't have a Yetzer Hara. This is a big one.
I say why?
And yet within an hour he eats. Okay, so the first question is, how come Hashem doesn't make an impression? The second is, what's wrong with Adam? He can't control himself for an hour without a Yetzer Hara?
Well, wasn't the snake Yetzer Hara?
Yeah, but it was outside him. We didn't have to listen to the snake.
He didn't have an inner Yetzer Hara.
Now, Hashem says, if you eat from this tree, you're going to die. Was that a threat?
Yeah.
He was 8 hours old. Did he even know what death meant? Nothing ever died.
No.
So what kind of strange threat was this?
Was it to show us?
1 second. In addition to that, Hashem says, the day you eat from it, you'll die. Is that not confusing?
Oh, you're saying gay?
He just said, don't eat from it. Then he says, the day you eat from it, you mean there's a day that I should eat from it? Maybe today?
That's kind of a threat.
Maybe they didn't
The
like
day you'll eat from it.
Maybe he thought that die is good.
So,
Maybe they didn't like the word
Even-
long sleeve.
even if Hashem said, if you eat from it, you'll die, it's not good. When you say don't, that's all you need to say. You tell a child, never run into the street. Because if you do, that's not good psychology. Don't say if you do, because you don't. You know what happens? You say to a child, don't ever run into the street, because if you do, you'll get hit by a truck.
They still do.
And the kid says, yesterday I ran into the street, I wasn't hit by a truck. So that your whole message goes out the window. So you never do that. So now Hashem comes and says, you ate from the tree I told you not to eat from? And Adam is so corrupt that he blames his wife? Without a Yetzer Hara, only 8 hours old, created perfect by Hashem, and all of a sudden, he's blaming her? Come on. Chava blames the snake. Are you embarrassed? That's your excuse? A snake confused you? Come on. Finally, Hashem says, because you did this, you're going to suffer, you're going to work hard. That's not fair. That was not part of the warning. The warning was, if you eat from it, you'll die. Now you're adding more punishment? Can't do that. That's not kosher. You can't add more punishment after the fact. But the main question, the biggest question of all, why is the Torah telling us the story? It's so discouraging. It's telling you that a perfect human being, perfect, no Yetzer Hara, no bad friends, no bad neighborhood, no trauma of birth, was given one mitzvah and only lasted an hour. So, what does that say about us?
Not very much.
It's telling you,
Didn't die.
it's telling you you don't have a chance. You have no chance. You do have a Yetzer Hara, you do have bad friends, you do have trauma, and you have 365 ways to sin. Good luck. It's a terrible story. It's a terrible story. That's without Chassidus. Now, let's take a look. Adam and Chava are two neshamas in heaven. And they are told that they're going to go down to the lowest world and fix it. Right? Dira b'tachtenim. They open their eyes. They're in Gan Eden. And Hashem says, of all the trees you may eat, but of this tree you're not allowed to eat. Imagine Adam and Chava are having a conversation because they don't understand what's going on. Adam says to Chava, what is our job? We're supposed to elevate this world. How? All the trees are kosher. They don't need to be elevated. There's one tree that's not kosher. We're not allowed to eat from it. So what's our job? How do we make a dira b'tachtenim? The second question they had was, what does it mean, don't eat from the tree the day you eat from it? So do we or don't we? Sounds confusing. So Chava said, you ready for this? Chava said, it's not confusing. Hashem is giving us a choice. Don't eat from the tree and live, or eat from the tree and die.
So he's just telling you the consequence.
It's a choice. So Adam said, okay, so let's not eat from it. So Chava said, Hashem wants us to eat from it. And Adam said, how do you know that? So
You
Chava
wouldn't give an
said,
option.
Chava said, we are not in the lowest world. Hello. Our job is in the lowest world. We're not in the lowest world, so we have no job here. In the lowest world, people die. So Hashem wants us to eat from the tree, go down to the lowest world, and there our job is waiting for us.
So it was good when they ate.
So Adam said, wait a minute, if Hashem wanted us there, he would have put us there. If he put us here, obviously he wants us here. Chava said, no, that's not the way it works. Hashem will take you till the door, but entering the door, he wants you to volunteer. Like with Eretz Yisrael. He took us out of Mitzrayim, took us to the border of Eretz Yisrael and said, okay, now you want to go? And the Meraglim said no. Adam realized that she's right. So he ate from the tree. Now Hashem comes to Adam and says, you ate from the tree I told you not to eat from? How did you know? He wasn't angry. He was impressed. How did you know?
Is this the Chassidus answer?
So what does Adam say? I didn't know. She knew. Isn't it? So then Hashem asks Chava, what did you do? She says, the snake described the world in which you die, and it sounded like that's where we should be. So he gave me the idea. So Hashem says, this is so good, perfect. But let me tell you more about that world that you're going into. You give birth in pain, you have to work hard to make a living. It's not more punishment. There's no punishment. There was no sin. But it's not enough to know that in the lowest world you die. Hashem says, no, let me tell you some more about this lowest world. And this is the world Chava volunteered to go down to. So now, is it a terrible story? It's the best story to start the Torah with, because it tells you right from the start what the whole plan is. The whole plan is you're going down to a really nasty, ugly world. Why is it nasty and ugly? It's the lowest. You didn't make it nasty. It is the lowest world. So don't be shocked if it's ugly. Don't be shocked if it's painful. Don't be shocked if it's ungodly. That's what a lowest world is. Chava was not intimidated. Yes, it's a low world. Yes, it's ugly, but we can fix it. Before you start learning Torah, you need to know that. So you know what your job is. To fix a world that is very ugly.
But why does Hashem want to be on the lowest world?
Now, one more way of understanding. Adam and Chava couldn't care less whether they lived or died. It didn't make a difference to them. It also didn't make a difference to them whether they're in Gan Eden or outside of Gan Eden, because they would be tzaddikim either way. Yes? So what were they worried about? Their children. If they stay in Gan Eden, hang on. If they stay in Gan Eden, their children will all be tzaddikim. If they leave Gan Eden, they're not all going to be tzaddikim. They're going to have to do tshuva. So Adam said, let's not eat from the tree, and our children will be tzaddikim. That's perfect. Chava said, a Baal Tshuva is greater than a tzaddik. I want my children to be Baalei Tshuva. When she convinced Adam that a Baal Tshuva is higher than a tzaddik, then Adam agreed to eat. So now when Hashem comes to Adam and says, how did you know? What is he asking? How did you know that a Baal Tshuva is greater? Adam said, she knew. And here's the most amazing part of the whole story. Immediately after they ate and got thrown out of Gan Eden, what does Adam do? What does it say in the Torah? The next pasuk. And Adam named his wife Chava, because she is Aim Kol Chai. Did you hear that? He named her Chava, which means the mother of all life. Now, wait a minute. She just brought death into the... She's the mother of all death. Why did he suddenly name her Chava? This tells you that there's more to the story than... How is she the mother of all life? Because serving Hashem is life. And in Gan Eden, you can't serve Him. So by volunteering to leave Gan Eden, she gave us all a life worth living. So, two very important things. First of all, stop blaming Chava for everything. She's not the villain, she's the hero. Secondly, did she know that it would take 5,780 years to fix the world? Probably. Didn't scare her at all. Because she knew, we'll do it. we'll do it.
But they're dead now. They've passed away.
Yeah, well, she was only worried about her children. So Chava had a lot of confidence in us that in the end we will do tshuva and we will fix the world. Now, isn't that an amazing story? Just a little bit of chassidus, right? All you did was take it back one step. One step. What were their neshama told before they were in Gan Eden? So you take it back one step, the story is completely different. Yeah.
How did Hashem get here?
How did
Hashem get here? Like,
How did he get
why
here?
is he Hashem? Like, why couldn't I
He
be
took a
Hashem?
bus from
No, like, why couldn't I be Hashem? Like, why was
Grand
he-
Central. Huh?
Like, why couldn't I be Hashem or something? Like, why was he Hashem?
Why what?
I'm like just saying, like, why can't I?
1 second. Why can't you be Hashem?
No, not me. Like, oh, that, like, yeah, like, why
Why
can't I?
was he chosen when he wasn't chosen? What happened?
No, why was yeah? What happened? That he became control of the whole world.
What was his ability to create things?
Yeah, like what was before him? Like he just came, like, and had it.
Why is everybody trying to figure out where the world came from?
Someone told me
Because we don't know the answers.
I want to know.
How do you know it came from anywhere?
You don't, Hashem is eternal. He's not going in space, so he's here forever, but it's not forever.
grasp that
Because time
Wait, whoa.
doesn't exist.
One thing at a time. We know that the world was created. How? How do we know it was created? Maybe the world always was. Some people used to believe that the entire universe, that's God. Why is that not true? Because everything in the universe has a limit. This is what Avraham Avinu came up with. He said, how can the sun be God when the sun has limits? If the sun was God, why would it limit itself? What kind of limits? Well, first of all, it can only shine on one half of the earth at a time. But more than that, it can't sing, it can't dance, it can't talk. Who did this to the sun?
Well, he's never danced. I've never seen him dance.
He's going to dance with Tzaddikim when Mashiach
What would
comes?
the world be like?
Hang on.
If there was no Hashem.
So how do we know that things are created? Because no thing would limit itself. So if the sun has a limit, then there's something bigger than the sun that put a limit on it. Something more powerful can put a limit on something less powerful. So if the sun has a limit, Yitzchak, Zalman is trying to find us.
See, they're useful. They're useful.
Yeah. I really can't see you. So how do we know the sun is not God? How do we know the sun is not God? Because something more powerful limited it. Now, how do we know God is not a creation?
Because he makes creation.
Because he has no limit.
Who's Hashem's mother?
So what are you asking?
But his limit is he can't.
How did Hashem get here? Who's his mother?
Hang on. You can't ask who created Hashem. You can't ask who created Hashem because there's no evidence that he was created. You have to ask who created the table because I have evidence that it was created.
So we don't even know if it was created.
He wasn't created.
So,
Right, because we don't have evidence of it.
What if there is evidence? What if we
But
find-
there isn't.
What?
What if we find evidence that he was created?
Then we would have to find who created him. But eventually you have to find something
will we find out when we
that didn't need to be created. Otherwise you just keep moving. Oh, so who created him? So who created him? So who created him?
So there are some things that you just have to accept.
No, it makes
Was there like
sense.
another world before that
You can't-
God created him and then he just stayed?
There has to be a beginning that didn't need to be created.
But that's impossible.
Otherwise, there's no beginning.
Right.
So,
So he is the beginning.
But
he's the
he needs to have been created
why?
because then how did he get here?
From the second
Only
world.
something that is created needs a creator,
Was he here from the other worlds?
right?
Was he?
So he does not need a creator because he
He's
wasn't
not
created.
But how did he create it? How did he create it if he didn't get created?
Was he here from the other world?
How does he create?
How does he create it if he wasn't created?
Because a creator
By
doesn't need.
that's why we need Tzimtzum. In order for something that was not created to be able to create things that are created, he needs to lower himself, he needs to hide himself, because he's too powerful. So, Hashem is the original being from which everything else came. Do you know anybody who doesn't believe that?
Yeah, I know someone who,
There's nobody.
No, they believe Big Bang and stuff.
They believe that the Big Bang is God. Nobody, you can't not begin at a beginning. You know what I mean? So they say that some subatomic particles were the beginning. You're so cute. You're so cute. So everybody says there's a beginning. The question is, who is the beginning?
Maybe the
How
before this
beginning
world.
is beginning.
There was other worlds. I know. Someone told me about it.
Yeah, but that's
know
just
that.
So
double talk.
Adam and Hava is not the beginning.
Yeah, there was some before them.
Hashem.
Light,
Hashem. Someone-
light is not the beginning, right?
So what is?
He,
So the beginning is what creates.
the creator.
The beginning isn't.
Have there been other worlds before?
Yes, there was. I know.
One second. If you believe in evolution,
Which is
that means you don't believe in God?
What's
what's
evolution?
evolution?
The Big Bang and everything.
Oh, I do not believe in that. It is.
What's the Big
I mean,
Bang?
a Big Bang could have happened.
What's the Big Bang?
If it happened,
What is
Everyone started Adam.
listen.
the beginning?
If it happened, then it is God.
No.
But you can't have a world without God. The question